bit later in the day. Glad to have y'all back with us. So I showed you in the previous video how we separated the cap. I showed you the results of separating the cap on the boat and grinding out most of the bad wood. Like I told you before, we're going to replace the stringers one at a time to try to maintain the integrity of the boat. I don't want it to be all cattywampus. So we're going to try to maintain the integrity of the boat by replacing the stringers one at a time. And we're getting pretty close, but there's one thing that I feel like that we're going to have to do. The boat's sitting on the trailer. If the trailer's crooked or the bunks are crooked, because we've got the top off the boat, we've got one of the stringers out, the transom's out of the boat. There's a potential, I don't know how risky it is, but I don't want to take a chance, that the boat's twisted on the trailer. If the bunks ain't perfect, it's probably twisted on the trailer. It may not be much, but if it's twisted just a little bit, as we go to reassemble the boat, it may not affect anything, but it's going to be something that, you know, you go to put the deck down, and this side's 3/8 of an inch, and this side's 1/8 of an inch off, you know, and there's going to be, there again, I'm going to be back to the situation, not a bad thing, but using a lot of peanut butter and sort of shooting it in there with a cannon like a factory does, because they have a larger tolerance. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. In every industry and everything you do, there's a tolerance. If you're slicing a tomato and you're trying to do, you know, 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch slices, you have a tolerance. You look at what's acceptable, and then there's, you know, stuff that gets outside the range of acceptable, outside the tolerance of what you're doing. We're going to try to tighten the tolerances on this boat because I'm doing it and it's my boat. So the next thing that we're going to try to do is we're going to try to get this boat level, and we're going to get it supported at the right locations to where it's not twisted. So let's get at it. So I've already started this process. So let's take a look at the first thing that you want to do. Now, as far as lifting it up and pulling the trailer out from under it, I don't know that it's necessary. Some of you are going to disagree with me. The idea is to support this boat at the 2 rear corners, back at the stern, on the outside, where the boat comes across, turns up. I feel like that's the strongest point of the boat, or one of the strongest points. That's a good place to put something to get it off the bunks. So what I'm going to do, instead of pulling it off the trailer, I've got tires on the trailer. The tires are a variable. If one's got more weight than the other, or more air than the other, excuse me, then you're going to have it sitting a little sideways. What I would like to try to do to make the rest of the build a whole lot easier is to get the boat perfectly level. Now, I don't care front to back. I just want side to side. I want it to be level. I want it when I put a straight edge across it. When I put the deck in, then the deck should be level. From stringer to stringer should be level. So we're going to try to get the boat level, and we're going to try to get it supported to where it's going to make the assembly process easier as we go, because we have a known, you know, we have a baseline that we're working off of. Plus, it's going to prevent it from being twisted and racked and not operating properly once we get it back together. So let's take a look. I've put a jack stand underneath the back of the trailer right here. What that's going to do, that's going to remove any variable as far as the tire goes, or the suspension system. if I'm working on this thing, for some reason I have a failure in the tire, and I come out here and start gluing stuff in level and the boat's twisted, we're going to have a problem. So we got a jack stand here. We also got a jack stand on this back corner of the trailer. So we're getting the trailer level. And then here in a minute what I'm going to show you, in the middle of the boat, the center of the boat, that's the strongest point. That's the peak of the V, right? So we're going to support it at that peak of that V, and we're going to let the sides hang out naturally so that there's no forces that's influencing one side to be different from the other. Now, are there going to be some discrepancies? Sure. I think anything, you know, there's no symmetry, 100% symmetry. It's as close as the factory could make it. So we've got our jack stands in place. Our trailer is rigid in the floor. We've eliminated the suspension. It's a platform. It's not going to move. We adjusted the one jack stand to the other with some shims, and we got the boat, or the trailer rather, we got the trailer level. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to try to get the boat level at the transom. As you can see, what I'm trying to do here, I've lifted the boat off the bunk with 3 pieces of dimensional lumber. That's 1.5 inches, 2x4s. There's 3 of them on this side, placed right here underneath this point. Now, it's a little bit wiggly. You can see everything wiggly. We got to shore that up a little bit, and probably what I'm going to do is bridge from here to here with this big one, and make sure that that is a firm connection between the wood, the trailer, and the boat. But we're going to support it right here. That's on the outside edge. That's going to let everything lay naturally in between and not be influenced by the bunk. We've done the same thing over here. Now, I'm sort of in see if it works mode. So I've got 3 in here. Seems to be working. Got our jack stand. Everything's rigid. From the concrete floor to the corner of this boat right here, there's nothing that can deviate once we get this fully assembled. So when we get this level from here to the other side, then it's going to stay level. Now, I built this apparatus box. I don't have one of them jack stands you screw and you can lift it up and down. It'd be nice to have one, but I don't have one, so I'm gonna make do with what I got. I know a lot of you guys have to do that. We're not going to expire no expense on the boat. We're not going to take any shortcuts if we can help it. But if we've got things we can use, we're going to try to incorporate that in the process, because this is a one-time deal for me. Don't know that I'll ever tear another boat apart. Now, I hope you guys can see under there. You'll have to forgive the mess. I was out here late last night. So, what we've got here, I've got I took some scrap wood and I built me a box, and to keep it from being tipsy, I put this board across the bottom. The floor in this shop is not perfectly level, so I've got to have a way you can see down here. Well, let me get you up here where you can see. You can see down here I've got a couple of shims underneath this side to try to get the front of the boat from left to right. Not to, you know, we're 5 foot back from the bow. I'm supporting it right there on the kneel. That's a strong part of the boat. That kneel's V-shaped, so I cut my box V-shaped, and I'm putting a couple little shims in there. You can see that I've got a few shims in there to try to get it perfectly level. Once I get it level, I'm going to add some additional wood that runs like this right here, right up with the bottom of the hull, so that it can't move. Now, I think that's going to work to get this boat level and to keep its shape while we're working on it. If we can make this happen, I'm going to dig into this and get started. And I'll bring you back here in a few minutes, and we'll see what we ended up actually having to do. We're going to try to do a little better job on our blocks of wood and stuff. It's just jabbed in there. We're going to try to make that more of a semi-permanent for the duration of the project. But if we can get this boat level, we can get it flat, I think we're going to be in business. Alright, so on this front side here, I've went underneath my little block, my little box, whatever you want to call it, and we've tweaked, made some adjustments, put in some shims, that sort of thing. And as you can see right here, we're pretty much where we're going to be as far as level goes. So with all that being said, what I've got to try to do, I'm going to take on the side of this, because the V that I cut in the top of that doesn't exactly match the hull. And there's two pressure points on the outside edges right here, and that can let the hull slide and move, wiggle back and forth while I'm working on the project. So what I'm going to do, or what I'm going to try to do, I've got to get up under here, and on the back side, and I'm going to show you on the front side, but there's no wood here for me to screw to. But on the back side, I'm going to try to screw a board up like that, and do the same on the other side. And what that's going to do, that's going to give me some lateral support outside of this 1 foot wide box that'll make it less tipsy, and hopefully will secure it in the level position as I showed you up top. So let's see what we can do. Not a whole lot of room for a fat guy underneath this. The trailer is pretty, I've got the end of it jacked down, so I don't have a whole lot of room underneath here. I'm sure when we get in here that we're going to try to get some help from Smokey. Now, to avoid having everything get all, having to put a lot of pressure on it, I'm going to go ahead and start my screws. And maybe that'll keep me from pushing anything out of sequence. Or out of position, rather. Man, that's going to be tight. We got this up here. Run that right to the point. I have to breathe out. And of course that's going to be in the way. Different hold on that. I'm gonna have to suck it up and get in here. All right. All right. Right, well, that wasn't the easiest thing in the world, but we got it done. Like I said, we put them two braces up, shaped like that. They extend out a little further on the hull, and hopefully that'll keep that thing. Like I said, the V that I had originally cut was so narrow that you could push down here and it'd sort of slide that way, slide this way. So hopefully we can keep that from happening. Those two wings I put out, I put some pretty thick deck screws in there to hold them, and if I have any issues, then I can come from the two wings that stick out and I can go down to the floor and screw another piece of wood in to give those legs. That would really sure it up and make sure that it stays just exactly like we want it to stay, just like that right there. Guys, I appreciate you hanging out with us, appreciate you watching our videos, and we're going to break this up. I guess this is going to be a what they call a series. I'm going to break these videos up because I know there's certain aspects of the project that you'll need to know about, certain aspects of the project that you have no interest in, and you don't want to watch you know, 3 weeks worth of video to see the project. I'm going to try to jump around a little bit, and that way we can pull out the errors and the successes, and we can get that out to you without boring you. So until next time, I appreciate you hanging out with us again. This is Brian, Cliffside Outfitters. Y'all have a good day.